Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're doing an explainer on one of Wall Street's absolute wildest, most notorious illusions. We are going to unpack Jordan Belfort's incredible and highly illegal financial empire. I'm super excited to guide you through this one, so let's jump right in.
22. Just 22. That is the shockingly short number of months Jordan Belfort actually spent in jail for his crimes. Keep that number in the back of your mind as we go through this, because when you really look at the sheer scale of the damage he did, that penalty is just kind of hard to believe. So here's the deal. We're talking about a guy who literally made hundreds of millions of dollars just by lying about a $1 stock. It's a staggering contrast, right? Massive, massive wealth, systematically stolen right out from under regular, everyday people, and he gets a slap on the wrist. How does someone actually pull that off? Section 1. The Making of a Hustler, Early Days. Long before he ever stepped foot onto a trading floor, Belfort had this raw, natural hustle. Picture this. He started out just selling Italian ices on crowded beaches. Later, he actually tried his hand at a meat delivery business, which, well, it completely failed, went dead broke. But here's the thing. Those early grifts absolutely wired him for relentless sales. And that drive eventually landed him on Wall Street in 1987. Now here's the real game changer. Almost the second he arrived, he had this massive realization. The real money? It wasn't in actually buying stocks. It was in selling a massive illusion. He figured out pretty quick that true wealth wasn't going to come from, smart fundamental investing. It was going to come from manufacturing pure hype and weaponizing deception. Section 2. The Empire of Hype. Stratton Oakmont. So to pull this master plan off, Belfort knew he couldn't stay in Manhattan. Instead, he sets up shop out in suburban Long Island and slaps a very fake, old-money, British-sounding name on the door, Stratton Oakmont. Sounds super prestigious, right? Well, behind that fancy name was literally just a boiler room, packed with aggressive 20-somethings in cheap suits. They were screaming into phones, using these highly engineered psychological scripts to just bulldoze buyers. And what exactly were they pushing so hard? Penny stocks. Basically, totally worthless shares of tiny, irrelevant companies, aggressively sold to regular folks. I really want to emphasize this. This was not investing. This was a high-pressure psychological trap specifically designed to separate everyday people from their hard-earned money. Section 3. The Pump and Dump. The Financial Scheme. All right, let's look at the actual mechanics of how this notorious scheme works. It's a three-step reality. Step 1, they swoop in and buy millions of cheap shares of these totally worthless penny stocks for pennies on the dollar. Step 2, the pump. His army of aggressive brokers hit the phones, hyping these stocks up to regular investors, pushing and pushing until the prices go absolutely sky high. And then, step 3, the dump. The second the price hits its peak, Jordan and his inner circle instantly sell off or dump all their shares. Now, the outcome of that final dump is devastating, and it plays out on two very different sides. On one side, Belfort and his buddies make an absolute fortune. They're cashing out huge. But on the flip side, those regular, everyday investors, they're left holding total garbage as the stock price immediately crashes to zero. Talk about a brutal reality check on who is really profiting here. Section 1. Cracks in the castle, the fall begins. So, with millions literally rolling in every single day, their lifestyle morphed into pure chaos. We were talking staggering amounts of money blown on luxury yachts, private helicopters, wild parties, and honestly, a mountain of drugs. It was completely unsustainable. And as you might guess, it began to draw some really unwanted attention. Because let's face it, you can't steal hundreds of millions of dollars without someone noticing. And that someone turned out to be the FBI. Specifically, an investigator named Greg Coleman, who started quietly tracking the money trail. The Bureau didn't mess around either. They brought out the heavy-hitting tactics, tapping phones, tracing hidden offshore bank accounts, and, maybe most effectively, flipping Belfort's closest allies into government informants. Paranoia just exploded inside the firm as the walls finally started closing in. Section 2. The Ultimate Personal Brand. After the Fall. By 1998, the whole empire totally collapsed. Belfort was arrested for securities fraud and money laundering, staring down the barrel of decades in federal prison. But here is the kicker. He cut a deal. He entirely ratted out his partners and his inner circle. And because he turned on his own people, he served only 22 months.
Which brings us right back to that shockingly low number we talked about at the very beginning.
Now, you'd think he'd just disappear in shame, right? Nope. He executed this brilliant yet crazy pivot. Step 1, he writes a best-selling memoir, perfectly spinning a completely new story. Step 2, that memoir gets adapted into a massive blockbuster Hollywood movie. Step 3, he completely reinvents himself as a highly paid motivational speaker. The wolf absolutely thrived, all while his real-world victims were basically just left in the shadows.
Which leaves us with a pretty wild question to take away from today's explainer. On Wall Street, when does a wild crime just become the ultimate personal brand? It's kind of a disturbing look at our cultural obsession with the hustler persona. Definitely something to keep in the back of your mind the next time a charismatic salesman tries to promise you the world. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a clear look into how these massive financial illusions are built. Catch you guys next time.